Archangel Gabriel says Jesus is covering your name with his robe right now, but the wind of unbelief is blowing hard. Only 15 minutes left before the robe slips and you're exposed. Open this before he lets go, my child. Hear me before the moment slips away. I, Gabriel, stand within the trembling light that now ripples across the unseen horizon, and I call to you with urgency heavier than the air around your spirit. The winds are rising, yes, you can feel them even now as a pressure behind your ribs, a quiver in the invisible places of your soul. Feathers from my own wings scatter across the dim spiritual landscape, spinning like tiny lanterns caught in a breath too strong to be natural. Trumpets murmur in the distance, not yet sounding their full cry, but trembling with the warning that time is thinner than you realize. Jesus himself bends toward your name, yes, your name, glowing beneath his robe like a living ember, and he holds it there, shielding it from the gathering gust. But the minutes are slipping fast, beloved. The wind of unbelief has begun its assault, and its chill brushes your spirit even now, whispering doubts that are not yours. Come close, precious soul, let me speak before the light around you flickers again. Beloved child of light, the divine alarm has already sounded in the realms above you, though its echo feels like nothing more than a strange ache in your chest. I stand in the rushing glow, the horizon pulsing with colors too bright for mortal sight, and I feel the urgency vibrating through creation itself. The wind presses harder now, do you sense it? A shifting spiritual pressure that makes the unseen tremble, as though the ground beneath your spirit is breathing unevenly. Jesus tightens his grasp on the robe covering your name, the radiant fabric pressed against it to keep the shadows from touching what is sacred. Your name flickers beneath his hand, glowing through the fabric like a star muffled by storm clouds. And still, the wind climbs. It carries the dry hiss of doubt, the brittle edge of fear, the restless groan of the unseen forces pressing in. My child, you must hear me, the robe will not hold forever without your awareness. The countdown has begun. There are 15 minutes before the robe slips far enough for the darkness to see what it seeks. Listen closely now, every heartbeat matters. Precious soul, the light around you trembles as though touched by an invisible hand. I feel it ripple through the air, waves of spiritual tension brushing across your name like cold fingers searching for a weakness. The sky of the unseen realm glows dimmer at the edges, as if the horizon itself is bracing for what is coming. Feathers from my wings drift downward, glowing briefly before the wind pulls them into the churning air. They spin like signals, like warnings sent ahead of the storm. Jesus leans closer over your name, his robe luminous, threads of divine fire woven through the white fabric. I see his hands pressing against the cloth, holding your name with a tenderness that carries both strength and grief. The wind roars anew, though your ears may hear only silence, its true sound is spiritual, a pressure curling around your thoughts, trying to persuade you to doubt, to hesitate, to shrink. My child, hear my voice before it grows louder. This is not a natural stirring. This is not a passing whisper. This is a targeted wind, rising with purpose, seeking entrance where fear creates the smallest space. Stay awake. Stay aware. My beloved, the storm quickens with every passing breath. I can feel the shift in the atmosphere as clearly as you feel the beat of your own pulse. The wind presses harder, cold, deliberate, carrying the faint metallic taste of spiritual interference. The light surrounding your name flickers beneath Jesus' robe, casting brief flashes through the fabric like lightning caught under silk. The distant trumpets grow louder, though still muffled, as if heaven holds its breath, waiting for your response. Shadows skitter across the dim landscape, pulled by the force of the rising wind, and even the ground seems to tremble beneath the weight of what approaches. Jesus' grip tightens, his robe snapping violently at the edges, the fabric straining as the pressure mounts. "Hold on," he whispers, not in fear, but in holy determination. "My child," the countdown continues. The minutes are slipping, 13 now. You stand in a moment where belief and unbelief collide, and the wind feeds on whichever one you choose. Hear me, precious soul, the storm is not waiting for your consent. It moves because it was sent. But so was I, beloved. The light shifts again. The wind grows sharper. And as Jesus holds the robe over your name, something moves through the storm, slow, deliberate, searching. I can see its silhouette forming within the swirling shadows, its steps sending tremors through the air, its intent fixed like an arrow on what lies beneath that sacred covering. The horizon ripples with tension, the trumpets quivering as if heaven itself leans forward in anticipation. My wings flare against the pressure, feathers ripping free and vanishing into the storm, but still I hold my ground beside him. My child, something is moving toward your name, and what happens next depends on your next breath. My child, now you must understand why the robe covers your name at all. This is not ordinary protection, it is mercy woven into fabric, identity shielded within holiness. Jesus laid his robe upon your name because in the unseen realm, your name shines like a beacon, too bright, too significant, too targeted to be left uncovered in this hour of rising wind. The fabric glows with a purity that would blind mortal eyes, its threads shimmering with living light. Delicate embroidery, symbols of promises you've forgotten, covenants you never saw, shimmers across it, each one pulsing in rhythm with your heartbeat. He presses his hands against it, anchoring your name beneath the weight of divine love. But your name is vulnerable now because the wind seeks places of hesitation within you, moments you delayed, whispers you ignored, callings you ran from, doubts you entertained in private. These cracks are what drew the storm. Beloved, heaven rushed to shield you today because without this covering, the wind would have already torn at your identity. Do you feel the truth stirring in you? This is why the robe is here. Precious soul, let me draw you deeper into understanding. The robe is not merely cloth, no, it is a living shield, a breath of heaven woven into form. Each shimmering fold carries the memory of every moment Jesus stood between you and the darkness, even when you never knew. I watch his fingers press into the fabric as if he is molding protection around your very essence. Under his touch, the letters of your name glow brighter, pushing back against the wind's invasive chill. But your vulnerability now comes from the inner tremors you've tried to ignore, the doubts that sleep beneath your confidence, the sighs that follow unspoken fears, the inner ache that rises when you feel unseen. These tiny fractures give the wind room to maneuver, and every moment you hesitate, it presses closer. My child, I ask again, do you know why heaven rushed to shield you today? Because your name carries weight in the spirit realm, weight you have not yet realized. And what is hunted is always what is valuable. Beloved, your name trembles under the robe, not from weakness, but from the pressure of what seeks it. Jesus bends lower, his silhouette glowing like a fire against the dimming horizon. The robe shimmers with each gust of the wind, its edges snapping like a banner in battle. I feel the vibration through the air, a spiritual quaking that tells me something is pressing in more aggressively now. The embroidery on the robe shifts, glowing brighter in some places and flickering in others, responding to your thoughts, your fears, your wavering beliefs. The wind feels colder, more intentional, curling around the edges of the robe as though searching for a seam to slip through. Precious child, your name is more exposed to spiritual pressure now because disbelief creates vulnerability, and the wind feeds on that faint tremor within you. But hear me, your identity is not fragile. It is simply under attack. Let the truth steady you. Let my voice be your anchor. My heart, the robe shifts again, just slightly, but enough to send a sharp pulse through the air. Jesus' hands press firmer, his palms glowing with holy fire as he anchors the fabric against the force trying to peel it away. Your name underneath flickers, glowing like a heartbeat trapped beneath a storm-tossed veil. The wind's whispers twist around us, hissing words that are not true, words meant to unsettle your sense of worth. Pages from unseen books fly across the dim landscape, candles flicker violently, and even the ground beneath your spirit groans with tension. My wings spread wide to shield the edges, but the robe is slipping faster now, because your uncertainty is feeding the storm. 12 minutes remain before exposure becomes unavoidable. My child, you must steady your belief. The wind responds to your inner world more than the outer. If you tremble, it surges. If you stand, it weakens. My child, the wind of unbelief has grown teeth. I feel its icy breath sliding along the edges of the robe, testing every seam, every thread, every hesitation you have carried within you. It moves with cunning intelligence, swirling around Jesus, snapping the fabric like a whip, seeking the smallest crack in your faith. Shadows ride the gusts like broken whispers, flickering in and out of form, stretching long fingers toward the glowing outline of your name beneath the robe. Candles around us shudder violently, their flames bending sideways, fighting not to be extinguished. Jesus braces his shoulders, planting his feet in the trembling spiritual ground, the robe thrashing behind him like a banner ripped by storm winds. Stay with me, he murmurs, not commanding, but inviting, strengthening. My wings press against the pressure, sparks of light scattering like embers struck from stone. Beloved, hear me, every second you doubt your worth, the wind feels it. Every moment you hesitate, it doubles its resolve. Do not feed what is trying to consume you. Beloved child, the storm no longer hides its voice. Listen, not with your ears, but with the trembling in your spirit. The wind carries whispers now, soft but piercing, like icy threads woven into your thoughts. They say you are alone. They say your name is weak. They say you are unprotected. These lies curl around the robe, testing the edges with malicious hunger. Jesus leans forward, his face set with divine fire, every muscle in his hands glowing as he keeps the robe sealed shut over your name. The fabric snaps violently, white light flaring in sharp pulses. Pages from unseen books tear through the air, spiraling upward, caught in the cold vortex created by the rising unbelief. My wings tremble as I push against the gale, feathers shredding into sparks of gold that vanish into the wind. Child of light, you are not imagining the tension, your spirit feels this battle because it concerns you. Every doubt you entertain adds force to the storm. Every belief you choose crafts a shield against it. You must decide which voice to trust. Precious soul, the wind lashes harder, and I see Jesus plant his knee against the ground as the storm attempts to tear the robe from his grasp. His hair whips across his shoulders, glowing like living flame in the stormlight, yet his eyes remain fixed, steady, fierce, protective. The robe snaps and twists, the embroidered symbols flickering wildly as your name beneath it pulses like a flickering star. The shadows within the wind grow darker, swirling with shapes not fully formed, faces whispering, hands reaching, lies echoing like distant thunder. The candles around us dim to thin threads of flame, bending so far they almost break. My wings slam open to counter the pressure, shaking the air with radiant force. And still, the wind snarls, feeding on every unspoken doubt within you. My child, hear this truth: the storm is not simply attacking, you are contributing to its strength. But you can weaken it just as easily. Choose belief, even trembling belief, and the wind will lose direction. My heart, the storm grows stronger because it has found something inside you to grip, an old fear, buried but not dead. I feel it shift within your spirit like a cold stone dislodged by pressure. The wind coils around this tremor, amplifying it, using it as leverage to pry at the robe. Jesus leans farther forward, his hands blazing with holy radiance as he presses the cloth firmly over your name. The fabric thrashes violently, whipping like a creature desperate to escape. A deep groan echoes across the spiritual ground, as though the very earth beneath us is straining to hold together. The shadows in the air swell, their forms elongating, whispering old words meant to break your confidence. My wings flare, feathers shedding in streams of shimmering dust. Beloved, I beg you, do not agree with the storm. Do not repeat its lies, even in your thoughts. Every agreement is a gust, every belief is a barricade. You stand in a moment where your inner world shapes the outer battle. Stand firm, child of light. Beloved, something has changed. The wind just doubled in strength, not gradually, not naturally, but as if pushed by an invisible force with intent. The storm convulses, the robe ripping sideways with sudden violence, and Jesus digs his fingers into the fabric to keep it from tearing free. Your name beneath it spasms with light, nearly exposed. The shadows in the whirlwind contract sharply, then expand in a burst, revealing a shape, tall, jagged, featureless, but unmistakably aware of you. My wings snap open in alarm, the air vibrating with tension thick enough to break. My child, something unseen is pushing the wind, and it has noticed your name, my precious one. The veil between protection and exposure grows thin, so thin I can feel the cold breath of the unseen entity pressing against it. The robe trembles violently under Jesus' hands, the fabric glowing in quick, uneven flashes as your name pulses beneath it. Each letter is lit like molten gold, quivering as though sensing the approaching danger. The wind lifts the edges of the robe, just inches, but enough to send shockwaves across the spiritual ground. Darkness gathers at the perimeter, drawn like predators by the scent of vulnerability. My wings strain against the pressure, every feather humming with defensive light. Beloved, this is the edge, this is the point where either protection solidifies or exposure becomes inevitable. You must not surrender to fear. Your fear is the lever the storm uses. Your belief is the shield that stops it. Stand with us now. Stand in your identity before it is claimed by something that seeks to defile it. My child, the air tightens around us like a closing fist. The wind spirals faster, darker, its whispers turning into growls threaded with malice. Jesus presses his entire body weight over the robe now, his shoulders heaving as he plants himself like an unmovable fortress. The ground beneath him cracks with light where his knees touch, beams shooting outward like roots of fire. Your name beneath the robe glows fiercely, hotter than before, as though fighting back against what creeps toward it. The unseen presence inches closer, its shape warping with every gust, its aura cold enough to frost the air. Candles extinguish one by one, leaving only trembling embers. My wings shield the last flickering flames, but even they tremble. Beloved, listen, exposure does not simply reveal your name, it invites the wrong eyes upon it. And those eyes are watching now. You are standing in a moment that demands courage not from your strength, but from your surrender to truth. Hold fast. Child of light, you are standing at a dangerous threshold. The robe, though radiant and divine, is being pulled by opposing forces, Jesus' grip holding it down, the storm clawing it upward. The air between these forces crackles with golden tension, sparks leaping like miniature lightning bolts. Your name shimmers beneath the cloth, letters nearly visible through the thinning glow. The unseen presence moves in slow, predatory circles, its silhouette distorting as if made of smoke and shadow. My wings tighten around you, forming a barrier of light that strains with every gust. The wind shrieks now, a high, violent sound that slices through the spiritual landscape. Jesus' voice remains steady, fierce, not yet. Not this one. But beloved, your inner trembling sends a ripple through the robe, weakening its grip for a heartbeat. That single tremor draws the presence closer. You must steady yourself, precious soul. Every breath you take in faith reweaves the threads. Every breath in fear unravels them. My heart, the wind is now a force with intention and intelligence, pressing against the robe with relentless precision. It does not strike wildly, it targets the weakest point. Each gust hits the same area, the spot where your doubt flickered most recently. Jesus braces his entire form over that point, his hands blazing with such brilliance that the shadows recoil momentarily. But the storm regains itself quickly, surging with renewed hostility. The ground shakes beneath us as if the unseen world itself is reacting to your spiritual state. Your name beneath the robe quivers like a star caught in a violent orbit. My feathers are pulled backward by the sheer suction of the wind, glowing strands tearing away and dissolving into the air. Beloved, you stand between identity and invasion. If the robe slips even slightly more, the presence will see your name clearly, and it must not. Gather your strength, child. Gather your belief. You are not helpless in this battle. Your spirit has weight. My child, the presence has reached for your name. Its shadowed hand extends through the wind, fingers stretching, curving, reaching toward the glowing letters beneath the robe. Jesus slams his palm down, light exploding outward like a shockwave, but the presence does not withdraw. It pauses, recoils, then reaches again, faster. The robe jerks, nearly torn from his grasp. The wind shrieks. The spiritual ground splits in a thin, glowing line beneath us. My wings flare in alarm, the force of the gale threatening to rip them from my back. Beloved, it is closer than you think. And if you hesitate now, it will touch your name. My child, the storm is not acting alone. I feel the shift in the spiritual air, a sudden tightening, a pulse of cold recognition, and I know the true source has stepped closer. The wind is merely its instrument, a cloak for its deeper intent. I see dark tendrils twisting through the spiral of the gusts, each one whispering fragments of lies seeded into your heart long ago. They wrap around the storm like vines, feeding it with doubt, hesitation, and the remnants of old wounds you tried to forget. Jesus presses harder on the robe as your name glows in distress, the letters twitching beneath the fabric like light struggling against a spreading shadow. My wings widen, forming a barrier of luminous force, but even I feel the tremor of the presence behind the wind. Beloved, this interference was not born today. It has been circling you in quiet moments, waiting for the moment your belief weakened. Do not let it claim what is sacred. The truth is rising. And so is your authority. Precious soul, the shadows move in spirals now, slow, deliberate, hunting. They whisper in tones that blend with the wind, forming sentences meant to slip past your awareness. You are alone, you are unprotected, you are weakening. Lies wrapped in familiarity, spoken in voices that mimic old fears. The tendrils of doubt brush against the robe, testing its resilience, crackling with dark static. Jesus' hands blaze brighter, forcing the shadows to recoil with a hiss, but they return quickly, swirling in frantic desperation. The spiritual atmosphere thickens, the air shimmering with tension as if reality itself is bending beneath the pressure. My wings vibrate with a low hum of warning, feathers glowing fiercely to hold back the encroaching darkness. My child, this force is not strong because it is powerful, it is strong because you once believed the lies it whispers. But hear me, you can starve it. You can silence it. Do not offer agreement. Withdraw your belief from its voice, and it will fade. Beloved, the presence behind the wind is cunning. It does not rush, it waits, observing the cracks in your spirit where disbelief once lodged itself. It senses old disappointments, times you felt abandoned, prayers you feared went unheard. It uses these memories as handles, pulling itself closer with every emotional tremor you release. The wind surges in waves, synchronized with your heartbeat, the storm trying to match its rhythm to yours. Jesus leans lower, his hair whipping around him like strands of golden flame, his eyes locked on the presence with unbreakable resolve. The robe crackles with holy electricity, threads igniting as your name shines hotter beneath the pressure. My wings strain, the air vibrating with the effort of holding the realm steady. Child of light, the darkness is not after your life, it is after your identity. Your name. Your calling. Your weight in the Spirit. This is why Jesus covers it. This is why the fight intensifies. My precious one, the wind strengthens because it feeds on what you do not realize you're offering, your unspoken doubts, the small agreements you make when you tell yourself you are not enough, when you shrink, when you question your worth. Each flicker of uncertainty becomes fuel for the storm, and the presence drinks it eagerly. It wraps around the wind like a living serpent, tightening its grip, pushing harder against the robe. Jesus growls, not in fear, but in holy defiance, as he drives his hands into the shaking cloth, sending ripples of radiant force through the storm. The ground beneath us trembles with a low rumble, stones cracking with light. My wings shudder as the pressure increases, feathers snapping in beams of gold. Beloved, the battle is not external, it is being fought in the chambers of your inner world. If you choose belief, the wind will lose its anchor. If you choose fear, it will gain strength. The choice is yours in this very breath. Precious soul, the shadows shift. The present steps forward. And at last, it reveals its face. Not a face of features, but a void, a hollow shape formed from every lie you ever entertained. It leans closer to the robe, its edges flickering like torn fabric in a furnace. Jesus tenses, his hands burning white-hot. The wind screams. My wings flare in a blast of light. And then, the void smiles without a mouth, and reaches for your name. My child, listen closely. The moment you are standing in now is not decided by heaven alone. Your voice, your belief, your internal posture are part of the shield holding back the storm. Jesus' hands are strong, but your agreement strengthens his grip. The presence knows this, that is why it tries to fracture your confidence, to make you feel small enough to let go internally. The robe glows brightly each time you choose trust, but dims when fear rises. The golden threads tighten or loosen in response to your thoughts. My wings press against the darkness, scattering sparks that momentarily blind the void-shaped presence. My child, I whisper, leaning close, your belief is not insignificant. It is a weapon. Speak inwardly. Stand inwardly. Even trembling faith is enough to weaken the wind's hold. But silence invites exposure. Beloved, allow me to show you what happens in the spirit when you choose belief. The moment you lean toward trust, even slightly, the robe gains weight, anchoring itself more firmly over your name. Its threads shift from silver to gold, binding themselves tighter, becoming harder for the storm to tear free. Jesus' hands glow brighter, his strength synchronizing with your faith like two flames merging into one. But when doubt rises, even for a breath, the wind slips beneath the edges of the robe, lifting it upward, straining the fabric. The shadows howl in delight, feeding on the opening. My wings brace, pushing back with a roar of radiant force. Child of light, your faith creates friction, the kind that stops the robe from sliding. Your disbelief creates smoothness, the kind that lets the robe slip. You are more powerful in this moment than you know. Precious soul, I lean forward and whisper to you with divine urgency, speak. Words in the spirit world are not passive, they shift atmospheres, open gates, or close them. The wind shrieks louder because it fears what you may say. Jesus looks toward you, not in desperation, but in invitation. He knows your voice carries authority. My child, I tell you, my wings trembling with expectation, speak, and the wind will weaken. Say even a single word of trust, I believe. I stand. I am not alone, and the storm will recoil. Darkness despises declarations of truth. Already, the presence falters each time your heart even flirts with courage. Your voice is a key. Your conviction is a sword. Use them now, before the presence gains the upper hand. Beloved, I feel it, the tremor of courage rising in your spirit, subtle but unmistakable, like the first spark before fire catches. And the storm feels it too. The wind stutters, losing rhythm for a heartbeat, as if shocked by your internal shift. Jesus smiles, small, fierce, proud, though his hands remain firmly pressed to the robe. Your name pulses brighter beneath it, sensing the change within you. The presence snarls, its void-like form rippling with agitation. My wings glow more intensely, catching and amplifying the courage awakening in you. The spiritual air grows warmer, lighter in patches, as though beams of hope pierce through the storm's darkest corners. Child of light, trembling courage is still courage. Do not underestimate what is rising in you. This is the turning of the battle. Hold on to it. Strengthen it. The wind is beginning to fear you. Beloved, brace yourself. Something unexpected is breaking through the clouds above us. A sudden blaze of light splits the storm, a force descending faster than the darkness can react. The presence jerks backward, sensing what approaches. The wind screams in confusion. Jesus lifts his head, eyes blazing with recognition. My wings snap open in awe as the sky tears in two, because what descends now is not shadow, not storm, but power. My child, the heavens split open with a roar that shakes the very structure of the unseen realm. Light floods downward in violent cascades, each beam thick like molten gold poured from eternity's depths. The storm shrieks as the radiance descends, recoiling as though struck by a force it was never designed to withstand. I watch, wings trembling, as ranks of angelic warriors surge through the breach, wings of flame, shields forged from hymns older than the earth, eyes blazing with the certainty of divine purpose. Their arrival shifts the entire battlefield, the air warms, the shadows shrink, and the wind stutters, confused by the surge of celestial authority. Jesus does not lift his hands from the robe covering your name, but he tilts his face toward the waves of reinforcements with a calm, fierce recognition. They have heard, he murmurs, voice steady through the chaos. Beloved, feel the change. Heaven did not abandon you to this storm. You are not standing alone in the gale. This moment, this very breath, is saturated with the weight of divine assistance arriving on your behalf. The tide is turning, precious soul. The darkness knows it. The wind knows it. And somewhere deep within you, your spirit knows it too. Beloved child of light, the angelic host arranges itself around Jesus in swift, flawless formations, circles of shimmering wings, lines of radiant shields, patterns of geometric brilliance that hum with ancient power. Their presence thickens the atmosphere with a holy density, like air made of music and fire. The storm thrashes wildly, as though trying to outrun the encroaching brilliance, but the angels move faster. I watch as one steps forward, wings trailing streaks of white flame, and slams the tip of his spear into the spiritual ground. The resulting shockwave blasts a ring of darkness backward, clearing space around the robe covering your name. Jesus' grip steadies even further, the golden embroidery on the robe igniting into fresh patterns of living light. My own wings vibrate with renewed strength as I join the formation, every feather glowing like a small sun. Precious soul, the reinforcement is not symbolic, it is strategic. Heaven has positioned itself specifically to protect the identity you carry. Feel the truth settle in you, whatever the storm whispers, this army surrounds you. These forces are not here because you are fragile, they are here because you are valued. The wind trembles at the sight of them. My heart, the battle shifts dramatically as the angels unleash a wave of harmonic force, a sound like 1,000 crystal bells struck at once, rippling through the atmosphere in concentric rings of brilliance. The wind recoils as the sound touches it, shrinking back with a hiss as though scalded by light. Jesus presses the robe down with renewed strength, and your name brightens beneath it, glowing so intensely that the fabric almost becomes transparent around it. The shadows that once moved with such confidence now flicker like dying embers. The presence behind the storm stumbles, its void-like form losing stability as heaven's reinforcement presses in. And you, yes, you, feel the shift in your spirit. The fear that once made your breath tighten begins to loosen its grip. The trembling in your chest slowly gives way to warmth, to clarity, to the faint but rising fire of expectation. Beloved, this battle is no longer the storm's advantage, it is yours. The shift in your belief has strengthened the forces around you. Your courage is now influencing the unseen as powerfully as the angels themselves. Do not underestimate what rises within you. This is the moment the tide turns in your favor. Precious soul, something extraordinary happens as the storm falters. Your name begins to lift beneath the robe, glowing upward as though rising to meet heaven's reinforcements. The letters shimmer like molten metal, each one pulsing with identity, purpose, calling. Jesus' hands, still pressed firmly to the fabric, guide the rising glow with tender precision, ensuring it remains protected even as its strength expands. The angels around us raise their wings in acknowledgement, the entire formation adjusting to the new energy radiating from beneath the robe. My wings arch as well, catching the luminous waves emitted by your awakening identity. Even the air changes, it grows warmer, thicker with meaning, vibrating with the promise of restoration. The presence behind the wind snarls, its void body rippling in frustration as it tries to reassert dominance, but it cannot. Not while your name ascends. Not while your belief strengthens. Not while heaven stands with you. My child, feel this moment deeply. Your identity is not merely surviving this storm, it is rising through it, strengthened by it, illuminated because of it. This is the emergence of who you truly are. Beloved, something unexpected surges from the heart of the storm. A final burst of wind, stronger than all before, lashes out in desperation. The angels brace. Jesus presses down with blazing force. My wings lock into place. But this final surge, it is rising higher, faster, more violently than anything we have yet seen. Precious soul, the wind has one last surge left, and it is rising now, my child. The final surge crashes forward with the fury of a storm that knows it is losing. The wind roars with a depth that shakes the unseen realm, a howl filled with desperation, malice, and the residue of every lie it tried to feed you. It slams against Jesus with a force that makes even the angels flinch. The robe snaps like thunder, edges tearing at the seams of the air itself. Jesus leans into the blast, planting his palms harder, his entire form glowing with incandescent resolve. Sparks of golden fire erupt around his hands, streaking through the violent wind. The presence behind the surge hurls itself forward, stretching its void-like limbs in a reckless attempt to grasp your name before the storm collapses entirely. My wings snap forward to brace against the force, each feather vibrating like a shield struck by a hammer. Precious soul, this is the moment the storm tries to reclaim every inch it has lost. You will feel its pressure on your mind, your chest, your memories, your emotions. Do not let it pull you into its narrative. Your belief is the anchor now. Your faith is the final lock. Stand firm. Beloved child, the wind surge is so violent that the robe lifts dangerously high, revealing flashes of your name beneath it. The letters blaze like lightning, trembling under the strain of exposure. Jesus presses his weight more fully upon the cloth, his shoulders shaking with the sheer magnitude of the force he is holding back. The angels step in closer, their shields angled, wings forming a luminous barricade encircling both Jesus and your identity. The air crackles with chaotic energy, a blend of holiness and assault, light and dark clashing in a storm of spiritual violence. The presence behind the wind stretches its void hand farther, fingertips of shadow grazing dangerously close to the glowing outline of your name. My wings burn brighter as I slam them together, releasing a wave of radiant force that briefly pushes the darkness back. Child of light, do not let fear rise now. The enemy wants this final moment of chaos to break your confidence. But hear me, you are on the edge of victory, not loss. Hold steady. Hold tightly. Your name is inches from breakthrough. Precious soul, the unseen realm roars like 1,000 storms colliding at once. Light tears through darkness in jagged bursts, each one striking the ground with the force of a spiritual earthquake. Jesus' voice rises, not in fear but in commanding authority, as he speaks words too holy for mortal ears, sending shockwaves of power from his hands into the robe. The fabric glows pure white, then gold, then white again, cycling through colors of divine energy as it holds your name tightly against the surge. The angels release harmonic cries, their voices layering into a sound like celestial thunder, shaking the shadows loose from the wind. The presence wavers, its void body fracturing around the edges as it retreats and surges in panicked bursts. My wings burn with protective fire, each beat sending waves of pressure that slice through the storm. Beloved, this is war in its purest form, not chaos, but cosmic alignment reasserting itself. Your spirit feels it, every tremor, every flash, every vibration in the air, because you are at the center of what heaven refuses to lose. Let this truth steady you. The darkness is terrified of your name. My child, the wind falters. I feel it, like a muscle tearing under its own strain, like a scream losing its voice. The storm's density thins, its roar turns ragged, and the presence behind it flickers with instability. Jesus seizes this opening. His hands blaze with overwhelming brilliance, pressing down on the robe with a force that shakes the air into shards of silver light. Your name beneath the cloth burns brighter than ever before, no longer trembling but expanding, pushing outward with a strength you did not know it carried. The angels press forward in perfect unison, wings overlapping in a dome of radiant power. I add my own strength to theirs, wings spanning wider than the horizon, every feather a blade of holy fire. The storm tries to gather itself for one more strike, but it cannot. Its power is unraveling. Its lies have lost their weight. Its grip has shattered. Precious soul, you stand on the threshold of the turning. The wind is breaking. And your spirit feels the victory approaching like dawn rising behind the mountains. Do not turn your gaze away. The light is nearly upon us. Beloved, everything hinges on this next moment. The wind collapses inward, the presence lunges in one final desperate motion, and Jesus raises his head with fire in his eyes. The angels lock their wings. The ground splits with light. And your name, glowing, rising, powerful, pushes upward beneath the robe. My child, this next moment will decide everything. Beloved child, the entire unseen realm collapses into a single suspended heartbeat. The storm freezes mid-howl, sound trapped inside its own throat as though the air has been commanded to hold its breath. Jesus stands unmoving, hands pressed into the glowing robe with a force that radiates out like concentric shock waves. The angels remain frozen in formation, wings locked mid-blaze, every feather suspended in luminous stillness. Even the shadowed presence behind the collapsing wind pauses, its void body trembling with an uncertainty it has never shown before. The ground beneath us pulses like a living thing, veins of gold running through the darkness as if the very fabric of the spiritual world is preparing to shift. Your name beneath the robe expands with growing light, pushing upward, burning hotter, refusing to dim. My wings stretch wide, gathering strength from every fragment of holiness in the air. Precious soul, everything you have survived has led to this impossible suspended moment, the instant before breakthrough, the breath before release. The storm feels the end approaching. Heaven feels the victory rising. And your spirit feels a power awakening inside you that frightens the darkness itself. My child, Jesus moves. His head lifts slowly, eyes opening with a fierce, unfiltered radiance that floods the air like the rising of 1,000 suns. The stillness shatters. The wind shrieks as time snaps back into motion, the storm lunging forward with every shred of strength it has left. But Jesus is faster, infinitely faster. His voice thunders through the unseen realm, a command wrapped in power so ancient and absolute that even the air bows beneath it. The words he speaks ignite the robe in an explosion of light, the fabric glowing so intensely the angels shield their eyes. My wings flare wide, absorbing the shock wave of divine authority as it ripples outward, turning the wind's assault into harmless fragments of fading shadow. The presence behind the storm recoils, pulling back with a distorted snarl as though the command pierced its very core. And beneath the robe, your name responds, rising, expanding, glowing brighter than the storm has ever been. Precious soul, understand this, Jesus is not simply defending you. He is declaring ownership over you. His authority is final. His decision is irreversible. And he has chosen to preserve your identity at any cost. Beloved, the storm can no longer contain itself. The final surge that once roared with arrogance now fractures under the weight of heaven's power. I watch as the wind splits down the center like a torn veil, peeling apart in long spiraling streams of shadow that dissolve into sparks around us. The presence behind the wind howls in fury, its void form unraveling like smoke ripped from its source. Jesus presses his hands deeper into the radiant robe, the fabric stretching and rippling beneath his touch as if infused with living breath. The angels shout in unison, voices layered in tones of victory, fire, and ancient declaration. Each cry sends rippling waves through the battlefield, breaking apart the remaining fragments of the collapsing storm. My wings burn with protective fire as I push forward, pressing the scattered pieces of darkness back into the void from which they came. Your name beneath the robe flares with triumphant brilliance, no longer shaking but rising with unrestrained confidence. Child of glory, the storm is not merely weakening, it is being dismantled. Piece by piece, lie by lie, fear by fear, and your identity is emerging untouched. Precious soul, the moment we have fought toward ignites before us. Your name surges upward beneath the robe, pushing with such intensity that the fabric lifts in a dome of radiant gold. Jesus does not resist it, he supports it, guiding the rising light with his palms, ensuring no fragment of the storm can touch what is awakening. The angels lean in, wings curved like shields of flame around the expanding glow. My heart trembles with awe as your name bursts through the top of the robe, shooting upward like a column of white gold fire that pierces the heavens themselves. The light illuminates every corner of the battlefield, exposing the last remnants of darkness that cling to the edges of the unseen realm. The presence that once drove the wind screams as it is forced backward, its void limbs dissolving into streams of ash-like shadow. Your name, shining with the full force of its divine design, rises unhindered, unbroken, stronger than anything the storm tried to bury. My child, this is the unveiling of your identity. Not a fragile flicker, but a blazing force the darkness cannot endure. Beloved, it happens. The entire realm flips. A blast of light erupts from Jesus' hands, shooting upward through your rising name and detonating across the battlefield in a shockwave that feels like creation rebooting itself. The wind collapses instantly, folding inward like a dying star before evaporating into absolute nothingness. The shadowed presence is ripped apart, shredded by the explosion of holiness that tears through every dark fiber it once held. The ground shakes as the darkness implodes, leaving behind only shimmering dust that dissolves into the glow. The angels roar in triumph, wings blazing in celestial fire. My own wings snap open with a force that sends waves of light through the atmosphere. Jesus stands unshaken, eyes locked on your rising name with a tenderness and authority that silence every lingering echo of battle. Your name hovers above him, brilliant, whole, magnificent, pulsing with a strength that radiates into eternity. Child of heaven, the storm is defeated. The darkness has lost. Your identity has prevailed. Everything from this moment onward is restoration. My precious one, the battlefield falls into a silence so deep it feels like the breath of eternity resting against your skin. No wind, no roar, no whisper of darkness remains. Only a stillness filled with warmth, like the soft glow after dawn breaks. Jesus steps back from the now luminous robe, his hands glowing with residual fire as he looks upon your name rising above him. The angels lower their wings in reverent unity, each one bowing slightly as if honoring what has just been revealed. My wings relax for the first time since the storm began, their flames settling into a gentle radiance. The ground, once shaken by battle, now feels steady and warm beneath us, humming with the echo of renewed creation. Beloved, you must understand what this silence means. It is not emptiness, it is the space heaven creates when identity has won. Your spirit feels it, the easing in your chest, the clarity in your thoughts, the warmth blooming where fear once lived. This is peace earned, not given lightly. This is the evidence of your victory. My child, Jesus steps forward with infinite tenderness and raises his hands toward your shining name. The letters respond instantly, descending toward him with a soft, holy hum, as though drawn by the gravity of his love. When the glowing name reaches his palms, he holds it delicately, as though it is both priceless and powerful enough to shape worlds. Light spills between his fingers, illuminating his face with warmth and joy. The angels exhale in awe, wings folding closer as they watch the moment unfold. Jesus turns slightly, lifting your name toward the heavens as though presenting it before all creation. His voice, now gentle instead of commanding, whispers words of blessing over it, words saturated with identity, purpose, and destiny. My wings tremble at the sound. The name in his hands is yours, restored, purified, strengthened beyond measure. Beloved, Jesus is not simply returning your identity to you. He is celebrating it. He honors what survived the storm. He honors who you are. Precious soul, Jesus lifts your glowing name and presses it gently against his heart. The light merges with him for a breath, then rises again crowned in a ring of radiant fire, each ember a fragment of your restored dignity. The angels bow as the crown forms, honoring the identity the storm could not steal. Jesus extends it toward you, eyes bright with pride. Beloved, your identity is no longer wounded. It is royal. It is whole. My child, the angels rise and surround you in a circle of blazing wings, honoring the battles your spirit survived in silence. Jesus places your crown name gently into the core of your being, where it settles like a warm sun. Light fills every place once cracked by fear. The angels release a harmony of triumph that wraps around you like a cloak. Precious soul, heaven does not merely see you. Heaven celebrates you. Beloved, Jesus lifts his hand and seals your name within you with a soft breath of radiant power. The ground glows beneath your feet as strength rises inside you like a gentle tide. The storm is gone. The wind is silent. Your identity stands unshakable and crowned with glory. My wings surround you one last time as I whisper, your name is secured, your spirit strengthened, and I, Archangel Gabriel, will watch over you from this moment forward.